We begin with the story of when the world was still young, where there was a war in the heavens, and the immortals discovered that they had the power to kill one another. During this war, a great weapon called the Bow of Epirus was lost in the human world. The winners of this war became the gods, while the defeated became the Titans, who were now imprisoned in the mountains of Tartarus. A young virgin oracle rises from her slumber. Her companions ask her what vision she had, and she tells them that she saw King Hyperion freeing the Titans from their prison. She believes the king wishes to find the Bow of Epirus to rule humanity. At that moment, the enormous army of King Hyperion marches toward the gates, and the king himself invades. The king demands to see the oracle, but the priest stops him, warning him that he will incur the wrath of the gods if he does not cease. Hyperion demands that the priest tell him where the gods were when his son and wife were dying, and when he prayed every day. He then proceeds to burn the poor man for not giving him a convincing answer. He then proclaims that he will end the reign of the gods. Somewhere in a Hellenic village, Theseus lives with his mother. One day, the guards ring the bells, and everyone gathers in the village center. A commander named Helios explains that Hyperion has taken the monastery of Cybele and that his army will soon attack the village, so everyone must evacuate to Mount Tartarus, behind the Great Wall. The villagers quickly begin to evacuate, but Theseus and other peasants are forced to stay behind due to their lesser noble blood. Because of this, Theseus gets into a fight with one of the soldiers. He faces 5 soldiers at once and manages to take the soldier Lysander hostage. Helios comes to negotiate and promises Theseus that he will ensure the safety of the peasants the next day, thus, he releases Lysander. Helios then asks Theseus to join him, but he refuses, stating that they are untrustworthy and would discard their people whenever they wanted. Theseus then goes to his teacher, an old man, who tells him that he will not leave the village to die a slow death, but rather wishes to die quickly at the hands of Hyperion's army. He encourages Theseus to take up arms against evil. That night, when the old man goes to sleep, he feels a presence and quickly transforms into his true form, the god Zeus. His pursuer is his own daughter, Athena, who asks why he spends so much time influencing Theseus. Zeus admits that only Theseus can lead the army of men against Hyperion's army, but it must be his own choice. After the army evacuated the high-blooded nobles, they left Lysander behind with other commanders to protect the peasants. Lysander, however, cold-bloodedly murders the commanders and runs to King Hyperion to place himself under his command. Hyperion wants nothing to do with a traitor. He doesn't care about the women, weapons, or the information Lysander was offering and only wants to know where the oracle is hidden, as she alone knows the Bow of Epirus. In the end, however, Hyperion decides to keep Lysander under one condition. He orders his soldiers to make him sterile, for the world does not need more cowards like him to be born. The next day, as Theseus goes to the hills to practice his spear, he notices that his village is burning. He runs to the scene and finds Hyperion's army attacking and murdering the people of his village who had been forced to stay behind. He also sees 2 soldiers about to kill his mother. Theseus roars with rage and kills several men in hopes of rescuing her, but is eventually subdued by multiple men. Then, King Hyperion takes a dagger and cuts his mother's throat right before his eyes. He then commands his men to take Theseus to the salt mines as a slave. From Mount Olympus, the gods watch as Hyperion's legion destroys all the monasteries in search of the bow. Zeus, however, reminds the other gods of the rule that they cannot interfere unless the Titans are freed, advising them that if they help or interfere with mortals, they will be punished with death. One day, the 4 oracles are captured and taken to the same prison where Theseus is held. The virgin oracle accidentally touches his legs and sees a vision of Theseus alongside Hyperion over the ruins of Greece. She then quickly goes to the other prisoners and tells them that they must escape that night. At night, while the 4 oracles perform their ritual, they are interrupted by guards, and during this moment, they manage to kill them. 3 of the oracles stay behind to protect the virgin oracle from any pursuers. The woman named Phaedra also frees Theseus along with the other prisoners, and they all escape from prison. The next morning, Stavros, one of the escaped prisoners, spots a merchant ship, so they all plan to steal it and head north to defeat Hyperion once and for all. However, when they arrive to ambush the ship, they realize it is filled with Hyperion's soldiers. A battle begins in which they are truly outnumbered. Despite Zeus ordering them not to interfere, Poseidon jumps from Mount Olympus into the sea to create a tide so strong it destroys everything in its path. The soldiers are swept away along with the ship while Theseus and his group are saved thanks to the oracle's visions. Later, Theseus asks Phaedra what else she saw in her visions, and she tells him that he will face Hyperion. She also tells him that she saw a body. Theseus tells her that his mother recently passed away. Phaedra tells him they must give her a proper burial, as their faith demands it, and so they decide to return to Theseus's village. Meanwhile, Hyperion also orders the Minotaur to go after the Virgin Oracle and sends his other soldiers to ambush anyone in the village. After burying his mother in the temple, he notices something trapped at the base of the tomb, or a large stone is lodged inside. When he strikes the stone with a hammer, he discovers the desired bow of Epirus. Suddenly, from the darkness of the tunnels, the Minotaur emerges and attacks him. Outside, his friends are also surrounded by the ambush. Theseus bravely fights the Minotaur and, despite being wounded in the arm, he manages to rise and defeat the humanoid beast, severing its head. Theseus then goes out and uses the bow of Epirus to kill the soldiers surrounding his friends. After ensuring their safety, Theseus faints. The next morning, he wakes up to find Phaedra tending to his wounds. She tells him that he had been poisoned by the Minotaur but is now out of danger. They both fall in love with each other, and thus, they sleep together. In doing so, Phaedra renounces her position as the Virgin Oracle and loses her power of sight. Later that day, Theseus, along with Phaedra, Stavros, and the monk they had also saved earlier, head to the monastery. Suddenly, they begin to hear what sounds like muffled screams in the distance. The monk, understanding something, runs quickly downwards. Upon reaching there, he starts to push a huge bull-shaped statue that was on top of a large bonfire. Theseus and Stavros, not understanding why he was doing this, try to stop him, thinking he is mad. However, Phaedra realizes that the muffled screams were coming from inside the cursed bull and quickly Theseus and Stavros knock it down. They then discover that inside, Phaedra's oracle sisters were trapped, gagged, and already badly burned. Theseus and Stavros realize that it was Hyperion's men who did this, as they were still on site, just a little further down at the monastery. Phaedra then cries deeply for the suffering caused to her sisters, who soon die. The monk becomes enraged, grabs a sword, and runs towards where Hyperion's men were to take vengeance for what they did, not realizing that this was actually a trap. Theseus and Stavros try to stop him, but it is too late, as they are soon surrounded by the pagan men and the monk is quickly killed uselessly. Theseus, having fallen, loses the bow, which is picked up by the soldier's hyena. Ares, the god of war, appears to help the mortals and quickly destroys the entire enemy battalion brutally. Athena also appears and provides the men with 2 horses, instructing them to run to Tartarus to stop Hyperion. To his dismay, Zeus descends from the heavens. He is very displeased with his children. Athena quickly apologizes, but Ares tries to argue, which makes him so angry that he kills him with a whip of fire. Zeus then turns to Theseus and warns him that no god will ever help him again and that he is on his own. Leaving him confused, as he never asked anything of him, Hyperion and his men have already marched to the Great Wall of Tartarus. Hyperion asks Lysander about the place, the defenses, and the number of soldiers he has, and then simply dismisses him. The hyena from before approaches Hyperion and hands him the bow of Epirus. The soldier accompanying the hyena reports to Hyperion how the gods appeared from above and massacred the men. He warns the king that this news would cause panic among the men. Hyperion, now crazed with power and hunger, simply kills the man so that the news does not spread. After hearing how the gods saved Theseus, Hyperion gathers all the information he can about the boy. With Lysander's help, he discovers that Theseus is a bastard born after his mother was raped by some villagers. This piques his interest. On the other side, upon arriving at the Great Wall, Theseus quickly meets Helios. He is then taken to the chief council. Theseus tells him that the bow of Epirus is now in the possession of Hyperion and that they must seal the gates and prepare for war. The council leader does not believe him, nor does he believe that the gods exist, so he simply refuses. Suddenly, they are notified that a messenger was sent by King Hyperion to discuss the terms of peace. The king's envoy oddly requests that Theseus speak. As Theseus and the envoy converse, the man reveals himself as King Hyperion and asks Theseus to join him. He is sure that the war will go in his favor and promises to grant Theseus immortality. Theseus, enraged by what he did to his mother, obviously rejects, saying that actions are immortal, not flesh, and returns inside the wall. It is clear that war is now upon them. The next day, all the soldiers prepare their weapons, shields, and armor for the impending war. Outside the gates of the Great Wall, thousands of soldiers of Hyperion are also ready. Hyperion marches to the front of his army and fires his bow. With a single arrow, he manages to bring down the enormous gates of the Great Wall. They are frightened, and some even throw down their weapons in hopes of surrendering. Amidst the chaos, Theseus climbs up to the wall and calms the disturbed soldiers. He makes a speech to calm their nerves and says that surrendering now would mean surrendering not just their lives but also their souls. He then leads the small army against the approaching enemy, bringing a large number of soldiers. A great battle begins, where many men die. The Hellenics hold their position and fight bravely against the pagan army. During the battle, King Hyperion proudly marches through the gates and heads to the top of the Great Wall. There, he is greeted by the leader of the Hellenic Council, who still hopes for negotiation, but Hyperion simply walks by and separates his head from his body, killing him. Hyperion then aims his bow at the mountain ahead of him and hits it. Theseus hears this noise below and runs with Stavros to stop the Mad King. When they arrive, it is already too late, as Hyperion aims his bow at the cage containing the Titans and hits it before they can kill him. Theseus wakes up after the explosion and sees that his friend Stavros is gravely injured. The Titans have been freed and are fighting against him. He uses the bow to strike one of them, but the rest of the Titans simply kill him instantly. At that moment, the gods appear from the sky. Zeus, with the swing of his hammer, takes the bow from the enemy's hands, and a battle soon begins between them and the Titans, where clearly the gods are stronger, but cannot falter, as the Titans can kill them and are in greater number. Outside, Theseus is surprised by Hyperion, and they also begin to fight, each wanting to kill the other. With many in number, the Titans manage to kill Apollo and Hercules. Poseidon fights bravely and kills many of them, but he is soon also killed at the hands of the dark beings. Zeus watches as his daughter Athena is impaled by the Titans, bringing her to the brink of death. Seeing Athena's state, he then, in a fit of rage, grabs the chains that bind Tartarus and pulls them together, hoping to collapse the mountain and contain the Titans within it. Meanwhile, Theseus and his enemy fight for their lives. After much difficulty and a hard battle, Theseus happily manages to defeat Hyperion and kill him. As soon as he does, the Tartarus mountain collapses over them all. Sometime later, it is known that Theseus gained a place among the gods for his bravery beyond any other man. He was also rewarded with a son, Acamas. A great monument to honor Theseus was made in the center of the village. Acamas watches his father's monument in admiration. Suddenly, he is greeted by an old man, the same man who once taught Theseus. He tells Acamas that the war in the heavens is coming and that his father will be there. Acamas then looks up to the sky and contemplates thousands of men battling, marking the beginning of war in the heavens.